This is the buttonhole stitch. I'm using a piece of muslin that is 7.5 inches wide by 2.5 inches long, and I'm simply going to fold it in half and choose a spot where I want to put my buttonhole. Now, this buttonhole stitch is not the same as a blanket stitch. It's often confused with a blanket stitch, but again, it's different. And we'll show you why. I'm going to make an area, choose it to make buttonhole about 1/2 inch long. And I'm going to make it from, I guess, from here to here. So I'm going to draw a faint line here. In this case, I'm drawing a stronger line so you can see it. I'm going to sew from one side to the other along this line. But before I do that, I have to cut it open. So I'm actually going to pin this together so it keeps still. I'm going to fold the line in the center, and I'm going to take a pair of scissors and snip at the middle. Oops, that didn't snip so well. There we go. Now, if you look, it made a little hole in the fabric, and I'm going to put my scissor blade in there, and I'm going to cut just to my mark up to, the end of the 1/2 inch. I'm going to turn it around and go in the other direction and cut on the other side. Well, we could just start using our little button just the way it is there, but those little edges would fray really bad and it'd look really ugly after a little bit. So we can use a buttonhole stitch. And a buttonhole stitch is typically done with, double thread, but depending on your fabric, if it's real fine, you may want to go ahead and use a single thread. So now let's start with our buttonhole stitch. I'm going to start here at the end. I'm going to say that this other side that I'm holding is my back side. So I'm going to put my knot to the back. And the different thing about this and the blanket stitch, I'm still sewing around an edge of something. However, this time I'm going to make a loop or a twist around, with my thread. It's being difficult. And then I'm going to sew inside that little circle. You see how I moved? I got inside the circle. I moved my needle through the hole. And I'm going to go quite close next to that last stitch because I want my stitches together enough to protect that edge. And then I pull. And if you look at it good, you'll see that it kind of creates a little bump on the edge. It's not quite the same as the blanket stitch. So again, let me do that stitch again. I'm going to loop it around. I'm going to sew inside the circle near where I did the last one. And that stitch is a little loose, but that's okay. And I'm going to pull. And again, it's like the blanket stitch, but it's going to be a little bit more knotted. I'm going to come around, sew inside my circle, take a stitch, whoops, pull it through. If your thread may want to tangle, you know what to do. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to pull on that one. I've got an unruly thread. So let's find which one it is. There it goes. All right, let me show you one more time. I'm going to come around. I'm going to put my needle inside the circle, come through, pull. Do you see how it's making a little bit more of a knot on the end? And I would continue to do that all the way around the buttonhole. So again, I'm doing one last stitch for you. I'm sewing inside the circle, inside the loop that I just made, pulling through. And there we go. Now let me show you one that's done. I've gone all the way around. And I'm ready to end this. So if I'm ready to end this, I want to end it on the back side. And again, I'm going to put something towards the back, my needle in from the top side, and pull it to the back. And then I'll just turn it over and end it. And you see my knot where I first started. So I'll take a few tack stitches or knot stitches, whichever way you want to go. And we'll call it done. And just the last thing I want to show you with this is that if I were to open that, you can see how the edges are protected. And if I want to really put a button through this, it would just work just fine. See, we've got a button coming through it. And the edges are not fraying. So here we go. A buttonhole. A handmade buttonhole. That's it.